Now, Carlos Basa, a lawyer, was convicted of the crime of abduction with consent. The sole question presented was whether the crime of abduction with consent, as punished by Article 446 of the Penal Code of 1887, the old Penal Code, involved moral turpitude. The court, finding no exact definition in the statutes, turned to a law dictionary for guidance, and there was no definite definition, no specific definition, clear definition of moral turpitude. I think that's the reason why there's so much cacophony now about the issue, because Supreme Courts are not really very clear in defining what moral turpitude is. And since that year in Rebasa, they turned to a dictionary for guidance, and the dictionary says moral turpitude includes everything. What could be clearer than that? It includes everything which is done contrary to justice, honesty, modesty, or good morals. Now, although no decision can be found, we have decided the exact question, it cannot admit of doubt that crimes of this character. What was the crime of Attorney Basa? Abduction with consent. Crimes of this character involve moral turpitude. The inherent nature of the act is such that it is against good morals and the accepted rule of right conduct. There you go. Accepted rule of right conduct. Good morals and the accepted rule of right conduct. And since we have relative, amorphous, and various conceptions of morality, and probably that is the reason, as one author would put it, that is one of the reasons why in almost all jurisdictions, moral turpitude is not given a definite, specific, clear-cut definition. Let's go to the questions. The following are crimes involving moral turpitude. Now, slight physical injury, it's not moral turpitude. Illegal recruitment, it's not moral turpitude. Overspeeding is not moral turpitude. But there you go. Income tax evasion is involving moral turpitude. The following crimes involve moral turpitude except the following. So we are looking for the crime that is not moral turpitude. Libel is, intriguing against honor is, perjury is, and the answer is carrying of deadly weapons. Now, you may be confused. How do we know if it is moral turpitude and it is not moral turpitude? Now, we go to the, in that case, Teves versus Comelec, Justice Brion has given some indicators, approaches in evaluating whether or not the crime involves moral turpitude. And the first approach is called the objective approach. Look at the act itself, independent of the person doing it. Now, if the act is inherently immoral, then it involves moral turpitude. Now, what do you mean by inherently immoral? It means it is bad in itself. Mala in se, bad in itself. And you are safe in saying it is bad in itself if it is not a special law, because special laws cover actions that become bad because there is a law prohibiting it. For example, that's why we said earlier that carrying of deadly weapons is not a crime involving moral turpitude, because you carry a weapon. Nothing wrong with carrying a weapon, but it becomes wrong now because there is a law punishing it. We have the illegal possession of firearms. If there were no law on illegal possession of firearms, then no problem with carrying deadly weapons, because for as long as you don't use it to kill anyone, use it illegally, then it's okay to carry deadly weapons. But now it is bad because there's a law prohibiting it. Therefore, carrying deadly weapon is not bad in itself, it's not mala in se, and therefore it does not involve an act that it is not an act involving moral turpitude. Also, illegal recruitment, because recruitment is not bad in itself, but then because there is a law that specifies some requirements and requisites, and you have to follow those requisites, then we already have the so-called illegal recruitment. But without that law, recruitment is okay. Every business endeavor will recruit. Every corporation will recruit. Every people recruit people for certain jobs. Okay, but it becomes illegal now. It becomes bad now. Not bad in itself, but it becomes bad now because there is a law that imposes certain requisites and requirements. So for an act to be for an act to involve moral turpitude, it must be inherently immoral. It means it must be bad in itself, even if there is no law punishing it. So the clue there is that it should not be covered by a special law. The second approach is look at the crime, the elements of the crime. Still, you look at the act itself, but consider now the elements of the crime. And if one of the elements is fraud or the intent to defraud, then you are sure that that crime involves moral turpitude. The third approach is take the offender. Before we were looking at the act itself, independent of the offender. Now, look at the offender. If the offender is motivated by ill will, indicating depravity, then it involves moral turpitude. And now, let's go back to the questions so that in case this comes out again, then we are sure we would get the right answer. So the first question is, one of the three approaches in determining whether a crime involves moral turpitude. The crime involves moral turpitude if it is immoral in its face as positively determined by law. So we have a problem with the word positively determined by law, because this is already talking about mala prohibita. And we know that moral turpitude should be mala in se, not mala prohibita. So letter A is wrong. Then letter B, of course, is wrong. It is mala prohibita. No, if it is mala prohibita, it does not involve moral turpitude. It must be evil in itself. Now, not to pay taxes is evil in itself. Remember that taxes, that's the lifeblood of the country. country economy will die if we will not support the country by paying our taxes. That is inherently immoral. And so the answer is letter C. The act itself is inherently immoral. Mala in se, evil in itself. Now, another question is, one of the three approaches in determining whether or not crime involves moral turpitude is to look at the act itself. Okay. The court recognized, letter A, that as a general rule, all crimes of which fraud is an element are looked on as involving moral turpitude. Correct. Letter B, crimes requiring fraud always involve moral turpitude. Correct. And letter C, crimes involving intent to defraud always involve moral turpitude. So the answer is all of the above. And another question here involving the third approach. He is motivated by ill will, indicating depravity. So look at the person. If the person committing the crime is motivated by ill will, indicating depravity, so A is correct. When he is a minor, no, nothing to do with the moral turpitude we are discussing. And number three, when he has committed the crime against women and children, nothing to do again with our discussion on moral turpitude. So the answer is not all of the above, but letter A, he is motivated by ill will, indicating depravity. And here again, we have the very general definition of moral turpitude, that it should be against justice, right and duty, good morals. But then again, I say that these definitions are very general, and in some jurisdictions, in other jurisdictions also, moral turpitude is treated generally. And the reason one author says is because we have different concept of what is accepted norm of morality. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you have learned something from this lecture series. I'm Attorney Father Dan Domingo Los Angeles. God bless you. So help me.